Good morning, subscribers and viewers. It's the 28th of April today, 2022. It's approximately 6 minutes past 8 in the morning. We are walking reasonably briskly to Chelmsford Station because I have an ambitious plan today. I fully intend to start and indeed complete the Thames Estuary path walk from Tilbury town in Essex, the port town of Essex, the major distribution hub of the southeast, and shall continue a long winding walk through the countryside, byways, gates and fields towards Leigh on Sea. It's approximately 29 miles. There are various bus termini and train stations en route, but I fully intend to get to the end and get it done today. Ambitious plan, I know. Something I've heard of recently, my uncle did something similar. He lives in Kent, so he comes over from Gravesend, and he's done it in portions. I fully intend to do it in one hit. This is also a opportunity to wisely use a rest day from work. New job indeed, drive buses now, no more bins for me. And I want to live, do things, see things, and see, obviously test the limits of my capabilities, if you will, but branch out and try new things rather than just lounge about at home with a dog, lovely boy that he is. So, walking to the Chelmsford railway station now. Got the Ho 629 to Upminster, where we should be getting off at Shenfield. And then we swap to a C2C train, good, to Romford, which then takes us down to Tilbury town. So I shall put the camera away now. I shall get on with the walk, and I shall see you later on. Thank you. So we've got Shenfield okay for 0641. Our 0644 to Romford has been cancelled, it's now 0650. But look, one of new Elizabeth line trains. Ooh, fancy. Right, so it's 5 to 8, the walk has started in earnest. We're off at, near the Tilbury docks now. We're heading towards the ferry cruise terminal, which will lead us on to the Tilbury Fort. There was a slight delay in the train departure earlier. We just literally, with mere seconds to spare, caught the Upminster train with C2C. So this is Tilbury Station behind me. Can't see a great deal of it, but wasn't much to show. So, making progress. It's a stunning day. Life is well. Let us continue onwards. So this is the River Thames. There's a small ferry terminal, a ferry crossing and terminal. So I presume that's just a barge. So this is the back end of Tilbury Fort. I have a small crib sheet, well I say a small, this is 11 pages, this document today. Has all the directions that I shall be needing, but also there's brief summary and histories of places of interest. So you'll have to forgive me, I'm going to walk and talk because I've got much too much distance to be covering today. Brief history of Tilbury docks and the Empire Windrush bringing first Caribbean migrants 1948 to Great Britain. Tilbury docks was opened in 1886. The floating river landing stage was opened in 1930 by Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald, expanding the passenger line services at Tilbury, allowing berths of liners at all states of the tide. Notable people have travelled through Tilbury docks, including Mark Twain and George Orwell. In 1948, it was Tilbury docks that received the first post-war Caribbean migrants on the ship Empire Windrush from Kingston, Jamaica. The Empire Windrush set sail from Kingston, Jamaica on May the 24th, which is Empire Day, 1948, with 492 official Caribbean migrants, being a mixture of Trinidadians, Jamaicans and Bermudans, but also numbers of troops, lower deck passengers and a few stowaways. Each of the mainly black migrants, including many who had served in the armed forces, had paid £28 to travel to Great Britain in response to job advertisements in their local newspapers. The Empire Windrush arrived on the 21st of June 1948, and on the 22nd of June, Caribbean migrants started to disembark at Tilbury docks and began their new lives in Britain. The majority of travellers were soon on their way by train to pre-arranged addresses and contacts. For others, with nowhere to stay, accommodation was found in the Clapham Deep Shelter, part of the Northern Tube Line, which had been used as an air raid shelter during World War II. Tilbury Fort is a good example of a star-shaped bastion fort of the late 17th century. Tilbury Fort is today under the control of English Heritage and is regarded as one of the finest examples of the 17th century fortifications in the country. The artillery fort is on the Thames Estuary and protected London's seaward approach from the 16th century through to World War II. Henry VIII built the first fort here, and Queen Elizabeth famously rallied her army nearby to face the threat of the Armada. With its complete circuit of moats and bastion outworks still mostly surviving, it is very much the best example of its type in England. That is Gravesend, Kent. So that's a passenger ferry terminal, hence the small cars and no obvious jetty. That's a proper ferry, as you see in. It looks like two containers stacked on top of each other. It's like a pair of P&O things. You can just see it disappear in the yellow containers. But that's a proper ferry. So I'm seeing Arctic trailers on top of that deck, if you will, where you can see daylight through the ship. I'm seeing 3 trailers. So yes, Tilbury Fort. In a short while, once we've done this sea wall walk, we shall come across Coalhouse Fort, which I have visited previously, and there is certainly something on my route map, if you will, the directions that shall denote its history. So things, we don't have a great deal of time to read all this. Yeah, let's say there's shunter tugs, like dockyard vehicles, double stacked 40-foot containers. I've never seen that before. I've seen individual containers, of course, and double stacked on a train, but never with something that can move freely. How fun. Onwards. Small update, 1 hour 1 minute in. We are presently 3.6 miles into the route, making decent progress. So that's Gravesend, Kent, bargey tug fella. Yeah, it's nice, it's going well. Quite enjoying it. Very quiet, very serene. I've met 2 people so far, both older gentlemen on bicycles. This is a decent paved bit. Some of it has been like a crushed limestone seawall mess, and due to the high tides in this area, every evening a lot of debris and detritus gets washed up onto the path, so it's strewn with litter and grass, glass and all other manner of non-recyclables and what should be in a landfill, frankly, but most people treat their waterways like a toilet anyway. But no, it's going well, thoroughly enjoying this. A lot of time with my own thoughts and trying to empty my mind and meditate and just live it for the moment, but my mind's endlessly worrying about nonsensical stuff, really, materialistic possessions and destinations, holidays, ambitions. I'm just trying to be in the moment, be mindful, if you will, but the monkey brain won't stop chattering. But yeah, it's going well. If you've made it this far through the video, be it as a loyal subscriber, thank you, or as someone that's seen hashtags, for instance, mindfulness, wellness, walking, fitness, nature and all that, yeah, so far it's going very well. I'm of decidedly average fitness. I don't attend a gym. My main exercise is my dog walks, so I'm by no means in top fettle, but I'm a reasonably slim fellow. Don't smoke, don't drink, so this is not too arduous so far, but it's going well. I'm enjoying it, and I shall beautiful. I shall update you in a while. Coalhouse Fort. Coalhouse Fort was built between years 1861 and 1874. partly under the direction of General Gordon of Khartoum, and was one of a number built to fortify the Thames estuary. It was intended to counter the threat of French seaborne invasion. The fort stands within a parkland setting and has a number of World War II gunnery posts still in situ. The park is located immediately adjacent to the River Thames and offers a unique combination of site of special scientific interest salt marsh and grassland habitat, historic features, parkland, play provision and wildlife. The fort is undergoing restoration by the Coalhouse Fort project. Whilst not all areas of the fort are open to public access, regular open days and events are held throughout the year. Guided tours are available on these days. Corringham Church. The parish church of Corringham, dedicated to St Mary the Virgin, stands today on what has become the outer edge of Corringham village. It is thought that a Christian church was first built on the site in the 7th century, and this would have been a small wooden structure. From the beginning of the 9th century, the Thames estuary was under constant attack by Viking raiding parties, and the wooden building would have been burnt to the ground. The wooden church was encased with a stone wall approximately 3 feet thick. Parts of this Saxon herringbone stonework remain today in the chancel wall. In Norman times, St Mary's began to take the form seen today. The nave walls were made taller, and the windows were replaced with the round-headed ones in the Norman style. The main addition at that time was the tower, which remains largely unaltered today. St Mary's was built between 1080 and 1120. The north chapel, dedicated to St Catherine, was added in 1328, along with the north aisle. In the early 15th century, restoration began. The spire was added to the tower, and the window replaced with the one seen today, and the roof was replaced. After a long period of time where little money was spent on St Mary's, except to repair immediate damage, on 1843, she was closed and completely restored inside, and a south porch was added. Later, in 1864, a new vestry was added. In 1,000 years, from a small wooden structure to the beautiful stone building of today, St Mary's has seen many changes and been a focal place of worship for the parish of Corringham. It remains today in the care of the worshipping community who are trying to maintain and preserve this heritage for future generations. St Michael's Church, Fobbing. St Michael's is renowned for its historic association with the smuggling trade. Once upon a time, the church was near the waterfront of Fobbing Harbour. Smugglers sailed up Fobbing Creek guided by the distinctive church tower, but after the Great Flood of 1st February 1953, the creek and harbour were sealed up by a dyke and drained. Underneath the church are many tunnels which were reportedly used by the smugglers in the 14th century. The oldest portion of the church is the nave, which is Anglo-Saxon in origin. Behind the Jacobean pulpit can be seen the rude loft staircase, which dates from the 15th century and was discovered during the restoration of the church in 1906. There is a beautiful small 13th century lancet window in the north wall of the sanctuary, while in the east wall behind the altar is a 15th century window. The small marble font is very old, dating from the 12th century, comes from the formed Fobbing mission on Bell Hill, Vange. The south chapel dates from 14th century and the vestry was built in the 19th century. The west tower was built in the 15th century and contains a peal of 8 bells comparable with any. 4 of them were installed in 1629 and the tenor bell was hung in 1724. The now quiet village is renowned for its history, which includes being one of the main villages involved with the Peasants' Revolt. On the 30th of May 1381, John Brampton attempted to collect the poll tax from villagers at Fobbing. The villagers, led by Thomas Baker, a local landowner, told Brampton that they would give him nothing, and he was forced to leave the village empty-handed. Robert Belknap, was sent to investigate the incident and to punish the offenders. On the 2nd of June 1381, he was attacked at Brentwood. By this time, the violent discontent had spread, and the counties of Essex and Kent were in full revolt. Soon, people moved on London in an armed uprising. In 1981, a metal sculpture by B.R. Coode Adams was erected as a memorial to the peasants' revolt at Fobbing to commemorate the 600th anniversary. St Margaret's Church, Bowers Church. A stone church was built by Sir John Giffard in the early 14th century, and traces of this building still remain in the south wall, circa 1320, and in the west doorway. The church was a gift of the lords of the manor, the Giffards, who eventually gave their name to the small village of Bowers Gifford. Sir John fought in the Battle of Crecy, and there is an incomplete brass of him in full armour in the sanctuary. The church is built mainly of Kentish ragstone, with a tower and wooden spire, which was added in Tudor times. In the bell, however, which is reached by 25 steeply winding steps, 3 bells are housed, all of which are original 14th century. The bells are amongst the oldest in the county and are still rung regularly. A little over 6 hours in now, about 19.6 miles. We're at Bowers Marsh Nature Reserve, which is on the border of like Benfleet, Pitsea, what have you. Oh, my knees are screaming in protest, particularly the right one. Pain is pretty hectic, but we push on, we dig deep into that well of willpower, and we keep on pushing, making good progress. Beautiful day, lovely countryside, life's going okay. Recorded some bits for the video, so although you'll be seeing this after the fact, I've done some historical blurbs about some of the locations I passed today. So onwards, so Benfleet, and to Leigh and maybe to Southend, we shall see. Well, at last we're on the final leg to getting home. Over 62,000 steps today, about 29.6 miles. Bus is non-existent running to my area, so I have to walk home from the station. Bought some Neuramol in Superdrug. It does say in the box you should only try this if you tried ibuprofen and paracetamol previously with no success. I'm walking. Right knee aches, but earlier on. Benfleet railway station / Canvey Island to Leigh railway station is approximately 3 miles. Took about 2.5–3 hours. I had to keep lying down, stopping. It was awful. I really do have the utmost sympathy for anyone who has chronic long-term issues with mobility and what have you. It was bad. Entirely self-inflicted. It's a foolish folly that I should have done that walk today. Took approximately 8.25 hours. About 26 miles overall. So I've done, I think I totted up the totals by looking at the colour map they provided and adding the totals up and saying, oh, that's the overall view. But the East Tilbury section, on the ordinary written instructions, you don't visit that. So there was a portion of the journey missing by following through the Thurrock Nature Reserve. But yeah, took that one off the list. That was hard earned. Good. But yeah, tiring. It's now about, oh, excuse the camera, 5 to 8 at night. So it's nearly 12 hours since the walk started. Kerfuffle getting the trains home and what have you, but we're done now. So it leaves me to say thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share it about, participate if you wish, try and do your own walks and goodness and what have you, and it leaves me to say see you again in a video soon. Cheerio.